going on, Geek Corner? This is your boy, Erskmac, the mad scientist, and welcome back to the Orange Phoenix Media channel and another episode of Saturday Morning Comics. And with the Orange Phoenix Media channel is one of the hottest black up-and-coming YouTube channels on this side of the Dakotaverse. And if it's your first time visiting, and if you are returning, you ought to know what to do. You got to hit that like button. If you're new, you got to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because when you hit that notification bell, make sure you select all that, where you get notified on all of our content, live or recorded, man. So I hope you guys had an awesome week this week. Your boy's been a little busy. I've been getting back in the swing of things because last week I've been pretty much off the entire week. Even though I was giving you guys content, I was off like the whole week basically. And I recorded some stuff like prior to the week, so you guys can actually, get that content, man. And listen, I was not going to miss the Dakota Incident, okay? I was not going to miss that. I'm not going to let 3 or 4 days pass by like some people and decide to put that up there because it's the hottest thing smoking. No, we knew it was going to be the hottest thing smoking. We already knew that. We was already aware of that. But I had a very good week for my birthday, celebrated. Now I'm getting back into the swing of things. And yes, I'm going back to my LCS, one of my LCS this week, because there is a particular cover that I want from the Dakota Incident, and it's the foil cover of Rocket from the Dakota Incident. So we got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Obviously, we got our indie comic of the week, and we're definitely going to be talking about one of the founders of Dark Horse Comics being fired. Not resigning, but fired. And also how we as a people spoke with our dollars. And what was the result of us speaking with our dollars when it comes down to the Dakota Incident, man. I cannot wait to jump up into it. Also, we got some up and coming comic book news as well, and I'm definitely going to be covering that. And so, obviously, again, hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell, and doing a little bit of house cleaning for our Patreon. Very, very soon, you will be getting newsletters on the Patreon, okay? Like some of the up and coming news that, cannot wait to the magazine, because the magazine is returning to our Patreon subscribers. It is returning, so you will be getting newsletters. And for our $15 tier from yours truly, you will get a free comic book from yours truly. I will mail that thing out to you once a month for the $15 tier people. So not only will you be getting this content before it airs out on YouTube, but you definitely want to be getting a comic book from me along with a newsletter, which is coming out very, 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 very soon. Now, if you're not in the subscription mood and all that good stuff, because, in this economy, things is a little shaky. I fully understand. We have a Discord server. Which is free 99. So if you want to talk wrestling, if you want to talk video games, if you want to talk comic books, you want to talk movies, you want to talk TV shows, we got channels for each and every one of those categories, and we can definitely have a conversation. You can have conversations with like-minded people like yourself. So I didn't have a chance to go to my LCS this week. Okay, I didn't have a chance to go to my LCS this week. Like I said, it's been very, very busy. I definitely talked about the Star Trek one-shot, Star Trek Deviations, Threads of Destiny, featuring Nyota Uhura, written by Stephanie Williams, because that book was released the same day as the Dakota Incident, which is also written by Stephanie Williams. Like, she's one of the writers from the Dakota Incident. So she was hitting it from both ends, man. She was definitely getting that Star Trek juice, and she definitely was getting that Dakota Incident juice, man. But she is in her bag. She is in her bag. And trust me when I say she will be coming back to this show. And we're definitely going to be talking about all the books that she's working on. Threads of Destiny is one she's working on. Dakota Incident, Nubia, Temporal, Roots of Madness. Like I said, she's in her bag. She is definitely in her bag. So for me, I went to Charlotte Mini-Con. It was like a small day con. And shout out to my fiance, because she actually bought tickets for me. And met a few friends of the channel. My boy Chuck Brown, writer of Flawed, On the Stump, and Bitterroot. He was there. And guess who bought Bitterroot? Guess who bought the omnibus for Bitterroot, my fiance. So she's in there. She's in there like swimwear. So met my very, very good friend, frat brother Sanford Green, and obviously he was signing artwork for the masses, and Stephanie Williams. Stephanie Williams was there as well. So had a lot of fun at Charlotte Minicon because I had some books and I really wanted those books to get signed by all three of those individuals, because definitely support those individuals and their artwork and their writing. And if you never heard these people, technically you got to be hiding under a rock. You have to be hiding under a rock if you haven't heard of any of these individuals. But remember these names: Chuck Brown, Sanford Green, and Stephanie Williams, man. Some of the best artists and writers out there. Okay? So we got to get into our indie comic of the week, man. We got to talk about our indie comic of the week. And when it comes to our indie comic of the week, it is, I'm gonna pull this up for you guys. Now, this is by Kieran Gillen, and it is called Die. Okay? This is called Die. And if you like Jumanji, you're going to like this book. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to like this book. So, basically what Die is about is these group of friends, okay? These group of friends, Soul, Dominic, Angela, Matt, Chuck, and Isabel. And for Dominic's birthday, they go to Soul's house. And Soul created this RPG game. Unlike, it's sort of kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but not exactly like Dungeons and Dragons. But unbeknownst to me, as I read this book, this game literally took you to the fantasy world that Soul created. So as you read the book, they wasn't gone for days or hours or minutes. They wasn't gone for weeks. They weren't gone for months. They was gone for a few years, and they show back up. And one of the individuals in that group lost an arm, and one of the members of that group didn't come back at all. So there's a lot of trauma there. So this book is really, really good. I highly recommend this book for you guys. I definitely read ahead, and they imagine going to this fantasy world, and there are real life stakes. Like whatever you lose in the game, you definitely gonna lose in real life. Like you can definitely die like in this game, and you come back from this fantasy world and only to have to go back to do something, right? And everybody got their own traits, because just like with Dungeons and Dragons, you know, you pick your own class. Like you pick your own character, what the character can do, and the origin stories and stuff like that. So every single one of these friends created their own character, and they became that character when they got pulled into the game. And this is something by Soul's creation. So this book is really, really good. The artwork is really, really good. And what I mean by artwork, I'm telling you, this is the artwork. This is the artwork right here. So definitely shoots out at you. Very, very good book. Kieran Gillen, Stephanie Hans is the artist, and yes, that it definitely sticks out to you. Definitely sticks out to you. So I highly recommend that book for you guys. It is called Die, D-I-E, ! And you can find this on Global Comics. You can find this on Global Comics, and you can go to your LCS and physically get that book. You can go physically get that book. So highly, highly, highly recommend that book. So the next thing, that's last. So the Dakota Incident, we're going to talk about that last. But the next thing we definitely going to talk about is Mike Richardson. So if you don't know who Mike Richardson is one of the founders of Dark Horse Comics. Now, if you're like, well, what is Dark Horse Comics? If you're familiar with Sin City, the movie, or if you're familiar with Hellboy, the movies out there, the Umbrella Academy, guess where that came from? That came from Dark Horse Comics, and he is one of the founders of this, and he got fired. So imagine. So we definitely gonna go over this here, and this is from Bleeding Cool News. It says Mike Richardson, the founder and CEO. Get rid of this. Founder and CEO of the comic book publisher Dark Horse Comics have been fired from the company by its new owners on its 40th birthday. That is diabolical work. Diabolical world. On its 40th birthday, you fire this man, the founder of this comic book company. But either way, it says Richardson has been replaced by interim CEO Jay Comas, who previously served as general manager and head of franchise development for Middle-earth Enterprises as part of the Swedish company Embracer that owns and operates Dark Horse. According to a press statement from Dark Horse vice president of the product development and sales, Randy Larman, anyway, let's fix it a little, shall we? And throw in a few extras on my own sources on this matter. It says, quote, as part of our long-term vision to better align Dark Horse within a more connected and forward-looking group structure, we are implementing changes to modernize the business and strengthen collaboration across publishing, games, film, merchandise, and other key areas. Our goal is simple: to ensure Dark Horse is positioned for sustained success while continuing to serve creators, partners, and fans at the highest level. So I gotta go down even further when it comes down to Mike Richardson. Now, he is 75 years old. Like, and I mean, when I tell you he's been there from day one, 40 years of your baby. You had this for 40 years, and I cannot imagine that me being a creator of a company and you fire me as a creator of this said company. Like, it's crazy. It says he's launched a comic book publisher out of his small comic book chain Pegasus, later Things from Another World in Portland, Oregon. His presence there is the reason that Portland became such a comic book city, as comic book companies and careers from Oni to Image to CBLDF to IDW orbited Dark Horse outside New York or Los Angeles. With a focus on creator-owned titles and revamping underappreciated licenses, he published everything from Hellboy, Sin City, The Umbrella Academy, and Black Hammer, and grew to Star Wars, Aliens, Avatar: The Last Airbender, as well as being a manga pioneer, publishing the likes of Berserk. Was very adept at turning comics most people have never heard of into movies, such as The Mask, Time Cop, Hellboy, Sin City, R.I.P.D., Dr. Giggles, and many more. He wrote a bunch of comic books too. After all, he was a publisher. So who's going to say no? So it says in 2018, Vanguard Visionary acquired a sizable stake in Dark Horse Comics. Then in 2022, Swedish gaming conglomerate Embracer Group bought the publisher entirely from Mike Richardson and investors, though he remained as CEO. So that's what happens. That's what happens when you have, you know, shareholders and stuff like that, man. You can get ousted. Ask Vince McMahon. Ask Vince McMahon. Like what happened with that? Like, you got TKO, and obviously justified in letting Vince McMahon go. But, you know, I mean, I can't compare these two. But still, yet, I'm just looking at the premise of you being the creator and proprietor of the company, and other people that haven't been with it from day one fires you, the original person, from something you created. Like, that gotta mess with your mental, man. That has to mess with your mental to some capacity. Now, him being fired, clearly as CEO, you got some type of severance package. Like, it gotta be like 7 figures or something. Like, okay, so look at all this. Most of these movies, or actually all of these movies, we have seen before in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, The Mask with Jim Carrey, Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Hellboy, which had remakes and other movies, and actually now games, Sin City, which is actually a really good movie, R.I.P.D., Dr. Giggles, which is a horror movie from way back in the day. I want to say that's like early 90s. But Star Wars, Star Wars, Aliens, all the other stuff. So this man knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. So it's just crazy. You know, he's now 75 years old, 40 years with the company, and don't know how he personally feels about it. He got to feel miffed about it. He has to feel miffed about it. But still yet, though, man, it says the transition is described as seamless, with business continuing as usual and no immediate changes to operations. However, industry observers note potential for further restructuring, giving Embracer's history of cost-cutting and Dark Horse's recent internal adjustments. Just weeks prior at Comics Pro retailer meeting, Dark Horse announced new partnerships with Abstract Studios, Tiny Onion, Three Worlds, Three Moons, along with retailer incentive programs and the return of Paul Chadwick's Concrete, signaling an ongoing commitment to growth. It looks like this has all happened rather quickly. Now, Mike Richardson's departure closes a chapter defined by a risk-taking and creative support in the industry dominated by giants like Marvel and DC. As Dark Horse enters its new phase under Embrace's umbrella, the focus shifts to leveraging its IP into the multimedia world. So, like when it comes down to like any company, if you got like shareholders, right, and say Orange Phoenix, let's use me for example. Orange Phoenix is privately owned. I own Orange Phoenix, right? Say Orange Phoenix blows up exponentially and I decide to get shareholders and stuff like that. Like I can literally get ousted. Like I can literally get sent to greener pastures. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna pay me, but you can get sent to greener pastures. So imagine, you know, this is your brainchild, right? This is your baby. This is something you created. This is something you watch grow. You know, you've seen success with this. You've seen some failures with it, but either way it goes, it's yours, right? And you at 75 years old and you can still kick. You can still do what you do, but they're going to let you go. That got to hurt, man. That no matter what way you slice it. I mean, yeah, you're getting paid. I feel like you're going to get a severance package. I mean, he better get one. Like 7 figures. 7 figures easy. Something that I can provide for my family and stuff like that. But hey, this is something he created. But on the flip end of that, on the business side of it, you know, obviously you got shareholders. So, you know, when you want to go to a different direction and the CEO don't want to go in that direction, 9 times out of 10, you want to get outvoted. You're going to get outvoted. So that's what's end up going to happen. But that is highly unfortunate, man. I really do feel bad for Mike Richardson and Dark Horse. But I'm very curious on what avenue they take with Dark Horse, man. Dark Horse is one of the big indies, one of the big independents, you know, outside of Image Comics, but Dark Horse was that one. Like I've seen, what was funny about it is that I've seen Dark Horse comics as a kid when they were in pharmacies and grocery stores and stuff like that. Like I've seen Aliens comics from Dark Horse. I've seen Predator comics from Dark Horse. I've seen collabs between Dark Horse and DC. Matter of fact, I have a Superman Aliens comic in one of these shark boxes. So there's been collabs, you know what I mean? And then you look at the success of Aliens, you look at the success of Predator, and especially most recently, you know what I mean? So it's very interesting. And it's never lost on me that comic book industry is a cutthroat industry. It's never lost to me in that regard. But I do wish Mike Richardson the best. He's done some good work. We'll see what happens with Dark Horse. We'll definitely see what happens with Dark Horse. Now, next thing we are going to talk about is the Dakota Incident, right? The new history of DC. Now, there was a campaign, right? There was a campaign. Joseph Illich put it out there that he wanted to have 100K. He wanted 100K copies. And listen, we showed up and we showed out. Okay. You know, a great majority of the LCSs or comic book stores were sold out of New History of DC, the Dakota Incident, right? The interesting thing about that is when Illich was saying, hey man, thank you guys for showing up and pulling up, and then DC left those hearts, right? DC never really advertised the Dakota Incident. It wasn't on Threads. You didn't see any of that for the whole month of February saying, hey guys, we got a New History of DC coming out. You know, there was no level of advertisement to that. But just like Jay Penumbra, just like Blur Without Fear, just like Dr. Kiori, just like Comics Are Dope, you know, and other black comic book creators, we definitely put that stuff on notice, right? We put that out there along with the writers and the artists, like, yo, go get this book. Despite the lack of effort that DC did to advertise this book, we won in spite of, because At this point, Dakota Incident is getting a second printing, ladies and gentlemen. It's getting a second printing. It's getting a second printing. And you're like, well, what does that mean? So basically, once these books are like sold out, it's going to be a new rotation of books, and that is going to be second printing. And when you get like second printing and third printing, that means these books are hot. That means we need to print out more books. We need a new stack of books, which also brings in more variant covers. Because whenever there's like a second or third printing, there's a high probability they're going to be more variant covers outside of the ones that we already have right now. Okay, I know I said at the beginning of the show that I'm getting that the foil cover, the rocket foil cover. But with that second printing, I know there's going to be more variants. I know there's going to be more artists trying to get in on this and trying to get the cover, because we know the story of the Dakota Incident. We know the story of the Dakota Incident. And it was definitely was told in ways, because this book is different than the rest of the new history of DC stuff. The new history of DC stuff prior to the Dakota Incident basically was just informational. It wasn't a story that was being told. But the Dakota Incident was telling us a story. It was an issue for comic book's sake, because with the various amounts of writers and artists that was on this book, they really clicked up together. It was like, if I could use it, Samurai Troopers. You know what I mean? They was going up against the grain here. You know what I mean? They was pushing for stories to be told, and they was definitely being told, and it led to a wide success to a point of a second printing. Now, also, the unofficial page of DC Comics, like, yeah, you know, thank you guys for supporting this book and this, that, and the third. Like, oh, you didn't contribute to nothing. You didn't contribute to this. You didn't contribute to this. And just as what's funny about it is just as sure that we stood up for this book and we spoke with our dollars, that can change anybody's mind. And I take this further than comic books. You know, the black dollar goes a long way, because if we don't pay for certain things, or we don't give certain businesses our business because of certain things that we don't like, they're going to feel that hurt. They definitely going to feel that hurt. Look at Target. Target done fired their CEO, got another CEO, and they're trying to go through another direction. And even though that direction is not recognizing what they did to stop those sales, they going to go a different direction to try to raise revenue again. It's not going to work. You took away DEI. You took that away. That's why you're suffering. Costco didn't do that. Costco's flourishing. Costco's making profits because they are their own company. Same thing for when they came to this book, because, you know, black people, we showed up for this book. Black people and allies alike showed up for this book, read this book, and gave this book so much praise, from shorts to reels to long form content. I talked about this book. If you haven't seen that video, go check out that video. And everybody talked about it. Even Comics Explained talked about it. Okay? Even Comics Explained talked about it. Probably because he got pressured into it. Because, you know, he said he couldn't resonate with anything Milestone. But since it was the hottest thing last week, when it came down to books, he had no choice but to talk about this book. Now, he talked about it a few days later, after the fact. But then what's funny about it, on Threads, he got called out even further. Like, oh, so you're going to wait about 4 days to cover Dakota Incident, but you covered DCKO like that, to the letter, day of. Like, you told on yourself again. You told on yourself again, man. Like, we know what you're doing. You ain't getting no A for effort. You ain't getting no A for effort. But I will tell you this. We definitely put DC on notice. Because there is a campaign that's going on right now. And Jay Penumbra is the brainchild for this. And it is called #DC So White. So if you look at this number, it says it's been 1,116 days since DC Comics published an ongoing comic book for a black character in their main line continuity. So here's keywords: ongoing, mainline black character. Okay, because some people are, oh well, what about Absolute Green Lantern? What about that? We gonna cover that. We gonna talk about that. And they're like, but what about I Am Batman number 18 was published on February 14th, 2023. That was a mainline book. And again, what about Absolute Green Lantern? This title in the Absolute universe. It is not a story set in the mainline continuity. While the work of writer Al Ewing, as well as different pencilers, anchors, colors, and editors who have worked on this title, it is not a mainline continuity title and perpetuates a narrative that black characters need the cultural impact of Absolute to be successful. Mini limited series versus ongoing series. So let's break this down. So it says a mini series of limited series is classified as a comic series with a predetermined endpoint, whether it be 3, 5, 6, or 12 issues. If it has a predetermined endpoint and is not going to continue as an ongoing with room for new story arcs and potential for new creative teams to take over, it is not an ongoing series. Here is the list of every mainline solo black miniseries DC has published since 2000. Now, I've covered Mr. Terrific Year 1. That was a miniseries. That was not an ongoing series. Even though I said, I want to say on issue number 5 or 6, we need an ongoing series of this. We need this, okay? We need this, but we don't have that. You don't have that. So Seven Soldiers, Mr. Miracle, 2005 to 2006. DC Presents Cyborg, 2008 to 2008. Vixen, Return of the Lion, 2008 to 2009. Black Lightning Year 1, 2009 to 2009. Black Lightning Cold Dead Hands, 2018. Batman and Signal, 2018. Naomi, Season 1, 2019. Aquaman The Becoming, 2021 to 2022. Black Manta, really did like that book. 2021 to 2022. Naomi Season 2, 2022. Mr. Miracle, The Source of Freedom, 2021 to 2022. Nubia and the Amazons, Stephanie Williams, 2021-2022. Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, 2022. Cyborg, 2023-2024. Steelworks, 23 to 24. Green Lantern War Journal, 23 to 24. Black Lightning, 2025. This is Terrific, Year 1, 2025. Now, this is a misleading statement. While DC Comics it says black comics don't sell, because that's also an argument. Well, black comics don't sell, or whatever the case may be. And he says this is a misleading statement. While DC Comics can point to sales charts and say this book didn't sell well, they orchestrated the factors that led to its poor sales. This isn't just an issue that affects black characters, but all marginalized characters. These factors are DC Connect, lack of disclosure of how sales work. What is tracked as sales is the ordering of the single issues by your local comic book shop, not your sale. The comic book store owner is left in charge of what is ordered based on their observed supply and demand. What DC, as well as many publishers, don't inform you as the consumer of is that your pre-order is the only thing that can change what is ordered beyond what the store owner chooses to order. So effectively, something that isn't ever bought by a fan but is bought for the shelf but ends up in the back issue bin is also considered a sale. So here's the thing. There was a lot of pre-orders for, and I don't have the numbers really, but I know for a fact there's been a lot of pre-orders for the Dakota Incident. I know I pre-ordered in not one, but 2 comic book stores. I did it for Heroes and Dragons. I did it for Scratch and Spin. I wanted variants over here. I wanted regular books over here. And I kept going back to the stores to get more books because there's some people that don't have a chance to go to the LCS. So guess what? Got those books. You know what I'm saying? But with those pre-orders, and you know these books are coming out, because you do have DC Connect. You do have like the newsletters, the Marvel newsletters about upcoming books that you really want to see. That is the opportunity for you to put in those pre-orders. I want those books, because now it's a special order now, because that comic book store is going to order a set number of books. They'll just say, I'm going to order 5 books. You walk in that store, I want all the variants of this book. I want the regular, I want the A cover, the B cover, I want Sanford Green's art, I want the XYZ. right? So that 5 gonna jump up to like 8, 9, 10, or whatever the case would be. But still yet though, that is how you get it. That is how you get it, man. That is how you get it. And even if they do run out, you order some more. Hence, that's why we got a second printing. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to sell that bitch out again so we can get a third printing. And this is what I mean by supporting with your dollars. Because when you support with your dollars, that is something DC can't ignore. If they choose to ignore that, that's on them. That is no longer on us. Because we did the work here. We did the work, letting you know we want a second printing. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to get you a third printing too. You know what I mean? We ain't playing out here. I made a joke when I saw it. I was like, man, listen, I might get a whole stack and start working the corners. You know what I'm saying? Start giving these books away, man. You know what I mean? They already got my money. I'm going to go ahead and get these books away. Hey, you ain't been to a combo store. Get this Dakota Incident. You ain't read that yet. Get that Dakota Incident. You like this cover? Go ahead and get that, player. Go ahead and get that. Pushing these Dakota Incident comic books, man. The other part of it is lack of promotion. It says DC has not moved fully into the digital age. They still struggle with promoting their titles, even more so when it comes to their marginalized characters, from a lack of social media presence to a lack of partnering with influencers. This is the biggest obstacle hurting DC for every title except for Batman and the Absolute Universe. I'm going to tell you something. DC can have the sauce, okay? DC can have all the sauce if they go to influencers, people that read these comics, people that have comic book content right here. You know what I mean? Jay Penumbra, Comics Are Dope, Blur Without Fear. These are the people that can highlight your stuff. They can call you out. We can call you out on your shit too. But you know what I mean? But at the same time, that's the part. Move with the times. Prime example, Blockbuster was like the biggest video DVD rental place, period. Physical. You know what I mean? Netflix was up and coming, and they had this idea of streaming things and doing these rentals, and you can return them. Netflix went to Blockbuster. They went to Blockbuster. Blockbuster laughed. So they refused to change with the times. Where is Blockbuster now? There's only one. There's only one Blockbuster left. But if you could imagine if Blockbuster and Netflix was together and they partnered up, we would still be talking about Blockbuster to this day. It probably would have been called Blockbuster, not Netflix, to be honest, to keep it a whole bean, had they made the right decision. So I don't want to say the same fate is going to happen to DC, because DC is definitely part of the big two. And they have several black characters they can definitely talk about. You got milestone characters. You got Vixen. You got Black Lightning that just sit, Naomi hanging out there. You know what I'm saying? But Mr. Terrific, for crying out freaking loud. So you got all these black characters out here. You ain't doing nothing with them. You got us. We can advertise these books. We can highlight these books. You can give us early access to these books so we can read them, and then by the time it comes out the day of, or whatever the case will be, or we can talk about it without spoiling it. That's it. We can advertise the book for you. So lack of promotion. Use your imagination, DC. Give it the program. So also digital. It says DC and subsequently other publishers do not value digital sales, whether it be from Amazon, Neo Ichiban, or Global Comics, or whatever platform you prefer. These are not being utilized to track sales and readership, despite how advantageous it will be for fans who don't have local comic shops. They don't even use readership of DC Infinite as a metric. Come on, man. Huh? Come on, man. Like DC Infinite out. Track your sales, man. Track your sales. There's gotta be like a revamping on how they promote and how they track sales. Digital is where it's at too. That's not going to cut off physical sales because everybody going to go to the comic book store that have access to a comic book store. I have access to a comic book store. There's 3 of them in where I'm at. Okay. I have no excuse by not getting physical books unless it become too much in my office. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 short boxes. Not to mention this back shelf right here that got my shit. You know what I mean? So, when it becomes a stack too much, then, I trade in some of those books that I'm no longer reading. You know what I mean? I'm not trading in any milestone stuff. So you can cancel that on, you can cancel Christmas on that one. But either way though, if it's a book that I know I'm going to have access to, or if I know it's a physical book that may take up space, I'm going to read it digitally. I'm going to buy it digitally. You know what I'm saying? You can literally track these sales. DC Infinite app. If anything, DC, you could definitely track DC Infinite as a metric on how often these books are being read. How many times these books been revisited, man? Come on, man. Like, there's got to be something you can do, DC, to say, yo, we need to track these. Because you might be shocked at the numbers on what's going on. Just as what J. Penumbra was saying, there are some areas that do not have comic book shops. I was one of them growing up. There was not a comic book shop nowhere in my area. I have to travel 20 plus miles as a kid with no car, no driver license, depending on my parent to take me to Florence to the comic book store, which I never visited. You know what I'm saying? I never went to Legends Comics. Never did that. Right? I depended on the pharmacy and the grocery store to get my comic books. That's it. If we taking a trip to Florence, I might go to a B. Dalton bookstore where they had graphic novels and trades and stuff like that. And I used to get, the collective stories. But as far as like single issues and stuff like that, never was taken to Legends Comics. Never was taken. Until I got a driver's license, that's when I was able to go to Legends Comics. So, I mean, from that standpoint, yeah. So it might be a predicament like me growing up. It might be a position where there's not a local comic book shop nearby. You might have to travel some mad miles to actually go get you a physical comic. But the best option for you is to get it digitally. That might be the best option for you at that time. So, DC, once again, get with the program with that. Also, trade paperbacks, collected editions. DC has a repeated pattern of canceling Black ongoings or miniseries with the potential for more like 2025's Black Lightning. Before they can get to traded paperbacks, collective editions are an easier way for fans to purchase stories and are seen as a larger form of entertainment compared to single issues. Unless they are pre-ordered, their sales are not tracked. Why you ain't tracking these sales? You should have been tracking those sales. You should be tracking those sales. I mean, you cut your nose to spite your face. You cut your nose to spite your face here. And to go down further, Milestone. This is where we get down to the nitty gritty. It says Milestone's involvement cannot be understated. The creation of Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cowan, Michael Davis, Derek T. Tangle, and their collaborators are some of the greatest works in the history of comic books. However, it has not always been a part of continuity. The original 93 ongoings were in their own universe because they were only published by DC. Static would eventually have an ongoing series in the main continuity in 2011, but it only ran for 8 issues. They would then have another run of titles while with Milestone Returns in 2021. But even these titles were victims of DC's lack of promotion, issues with distribution, as well as the fans not knowing how sales works. And so he says, how can DC stop the clock? And he says, announce 1 to 3 solo ongoing titles starring Black characters. These titles should have Black creative teams to tell authentic narratives. Bing, 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 bing. Okay. Well, if you got Black artists, Black writers, most importantly, they're going to tell the most authentic story. Don't push your own level of storytelling on these Black creatives if you never lived it. You know what I'm saying? That's disingenuous. Don't do that. Don't do that. the black writers and artists shouldn't have to fight or shouldn't have to pull teeth to say this is how this story need to be told. You need to step the fuck back or step the fuck to the side and let them cook. Because look what happened when you let them cook. You going on the second printing of Dakota Incident. Now, had you tampered with it, have you said, no, we're not going to do this? That's your fault. But you didn't do that this time. And continue to do that. Let these black writers and black artists do their thing with these characters. It also says, allow these titles to have immunity from cancellation for 2 years to allow them to enter the cultural zeitgeist and have trade paperbacks and collected editions available for fans who purchase in that format. I also agree with that. It says update and utilize new forms of promotion such as social media and influencers to promote not just their black titles, but their titles across the board to elevate the medium. I had no goddamn clue that Poison Ivy was going on for 40 plus issues. I didn't know the book was that hot. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that book was that hot. You know what I mean? So, and that's just word of mouth because, you know, there's fans of Poison Ivy. You know, there's fans of Harley Quinn. God forbid, man, bro, we got about 50,000 Batman titles. And not one of them is Jace. Not one of them. You know what I mean? But it says release educational information on how sales work so the misleading of fans ends and full transparency begins. I wholly agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Because now that we're educated on how sales work, and now that we want, because put it like this. I walk into the LCS, I see this book that I really like, and I want to see this thing continue. Because the worst thing you can have is that book canceling on you. And you are on board with this book, right? You don't know who else is interested in this book, but DC, Marvel, whichever, cancels the book for no goddamn reason. So if you know how sales work, maybe that educates you a little bit more on how to help that book continue to go. Hence, that's why he said immunity from cancellation for 2 years. I say that. Immunity for cancellation for 2 years. That's a fair statement. Like I said, Green Arrow's out there. I didn't know people was banging with Green Arrow like that. I didn't know people was banging with Green Arrow like that. That thing was moving. You know what I'm saying? But who knew? Poison Ivy. Who knew? We know about the Absolute titles. They've been all over the place. I mean, if anything, DC's been advertising the absolute shit out of Absolute. You know what I'm saying? They was doing that. So, also, it says that if these series perform well, continue them and greenlight a Power Company book to highlight minor black characters to give them a chance to find new fan bases. And to quote Dwayne McDuffie, escape is impossible until one perceives all of the barriers. Hardware, number one. He says, we perceive the barriers. Do you, DC? Now, I got to shout out, man, Jay Penumbra, man. Like, I mean, he put in the work. He put in the footwork. And I am part of that movement as well. But I will tell you this. I will say that this is a two-way street. We got to continue to support our black creators, our black stories, and when there is an ongoing series, we sell that bitch out every single time. That way, it will leave zero excuse for DC. And obviously, it was a conversation on Threads about, you know, what about black indie comic book creators? Like, look, you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. Like, just as much we want Milestone out here in the forefront, we want our black indie comics out there as well. You catch what I'm saying? We're going to support that too. Walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. I don't know the cat name, but I did see a YouTube video where it's like DC So White is bullshit and stuff like that. No, it's not. It's not. I mean, we recognize the fact that this book wasn't advertised, which is diabolical work. It's some of the best writers, some of the best comic book writers out there. You know what I'm saying? All all like the Justice League, all on this book together, or the Blood Syndicate. That's a better way to say it. Yeah, could join like the Blood Syndicate, doing what they need to do, selling this book out. So we have to continue to do our part with buying these books. We have to continue to educate the masses, because there may be some people that got off of comic books, right? And this may be an avenue for them to get back into comic books by, giving them black stories. Like, take my fiance, for instance, right? She wasn't a comic book reader at all. Stephanie Williams got her into it. She got Nubia and the Amazons. She been reading that. She went and got the Bitterroot Omnibus from my boy Chuck Brown. She went and got Roots of Madness, because I gave her my issue number 1, which was signed by Stephanie. And she gets on thread. She's like, listen, this book is amazing. I'm going to need issue 2, 3, 4. My girl's reading comic books. You feel me? Because there's books that look like her. There's books that look like us. Hey, this shit means something to me. You feel me? This shit means something to me. This is somebody that never read a comic book like that. But they are in it now. They are in it. Long as the book look like me, I'ma read it. That is my fiance. That is her. That is her, man. But I mean, this DC So White campaign, like, look, there's been a lot of miniseries. You feel me? And Marvel ain't exempt either, man. They're gonna hit us with, hey, we give you Black Panther and Miles Morales. Nah, no, we need more. We can get that Luke Cage. We can get that Luke Cage. We can definitely get that. We can definitely get that. But whichever. But fact of the matter is, Dakota Incident is getting a second print. And by the way, just to let you know, Jay Penumbra will be coming to this show next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You feel me? He will be coming to this show 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I cannot wait to talk about this DC So White campaign. I can't wait to talk about it. Cannot wait to talk about it. So just be on the lookout for that, man. Next week's gonna be pretty busy, man. Next week's gonna be pretty busy, and I can't wait to jump in that with you. So here's the thing. We're not done here. We're not done here. And I got a little bit of news for you guys. And one of the things is Spider-Man and Superman obviously is coming out. Spider-Man and Superman is coming out. And it says that Bleeding Cool dropped a chunk of change about the new Superman Spider-Man for DC Comics out last month, with a few dribbles about all new, all spectacular Spider-Man / Superman that comes out next month in April. Now, these are some of the covers for this book. These are some of the covers for this book here. And this looks very Sanford Greenish, and I will be copping. You know what I'm saying? I will be getting that. It says an homage cover by Gwisabit Kumankoli, inspired by Civil War. The homage cover by David Marquez, inspired by Power Man and Iron Fist number 50. An homage cover by Sanford Green, inspired by the Infinity Gauntlet number 1. A cover by Adam Hughes depicted Black Cat busted by Power Girl, and a cover by Ivan Talavera spotlighting Silk and Supergirl. So this is all new, all spectacular Spider-Man, Superman, and this looks like like a retro version of Spider-Man and Superman. But these are some of the artwork here from this, and just a reminder for you guys what books are going to be, or what stories are going to be in this book. First one is in the shadow-laden 1930s, Spider-Man Noir encounters the original Golden Age Superman as told by Dan Slott and Marcos Martin. Next is the industry powerhouse Geoff Johns delivered his first Marvel story in over 20 years, teaming up with frequent collaborator and fellow superstar Gary Frank. A crisis ensues as the hit creative team bring the Super and Spider families against each other at the summons of Mysterio. But is their true foe and ally out of control? Symbiote hordes invade Metropolis as the new War of the Realms ignites in Jason Aaron and Russell Dauterman's epic reunion starring Jane Foster as the Mighty Thor, Wonder Woman, and more. Next one is the co-creator of Steel, Louise Simonson, and artist Tom Knopf hammer out the tale of John Henry Irons' clash with the Green Goblin, with the Hobgoblin, one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. It says that current Amazing Spider-Man scribe Joe Kelly and artist Humberto Ramos delivers a campus crossover between Gwen Stacy and Lana Lang. That should be very, very interesting. Obviously, Spider-Man Miles Morales teams up with Superman in a tale by Miles' legendary co-creators Brian Michael Bendis, who recently made his grand return to Marvel, and Sarah Pichelli. Ghost Rider and Supergirl form an unbreakable bond on high-stakes adventure by current all-new Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, scribe Stephanie Phillips, and superstar artist Phil Noto. And masterful superhero storyteller Jeff Loeb and Jim Chung reunite to put their own spin on Spider-Man Superman team up. So listen, this book is going to sell like hotcakes. I ain't going to hold you. This book is going to sell. This book is going to sell. There's no bones about that. There's no bones about that, man. I can't say if this is controversial or not. I can't honestly say if this is controversial saying. But when I think of Spider-Man, especially in the past few years, I don't think about Peter Parker. I think about Miles Morales. I think Miles Morales is taken over. You know what I'm saying? The stories that wanted to be told for, the original Spider-Man ethos is being told through Miles Morales. And it was telling better stories. And I think Ultimate Spider-Man, took you back to brass tacks. And that what makes this story interesting, because Ultimate Spider-Man was really good. Ultimate Spider-Man was really, really good. But still yet, though, you feel like Miles Morales is right here, Peter Parker, right here. Sorry, folks. Sorry. I mean, hey, it is what it is. I got to call a spade a spade. Next book we're going to look forward to, because this was announced, which is absolutely funny, because there was a campaign which is really out there in the comic book world that DC so white, the hashtag, right? Marvel busts out and say, ha, this is my opportunity. We got a black comic book coming out, and it's called Bishop. But hold on. It's not an ongoing series, though. It's not an ongoing series. Saladin Ahmed and Mario Santoro are creating a new Bishop limited series that sees the X-Man from the future go back to the time he came from. And yes, I was very careful on how I phrased that. I hope everyone is. Bishop issue 1 through 1 of 5. And it says the time lost X-Man is back. Bishop has always lived by a strict code, but that code will get called into question when his sister Shard is sent to the present right before she died. Will Bishop adhere to his principles and protect the time stream, or will he risk it all to save the most important person in his life? In the series, Bishop finds himself in a fight against fate when the final Brotherhood, a new group of villains originating from his future, journey to the past to end his time in present once and for all. In order to stop them and prevent further disruption of the timeline, Bishop will team up with his sister Shard, a fan favorite character who starred in 90s X Factor, as well as the previous Bishop solo series, whose tragic fate haunts Bishop to this day. Similar to recently launched solo X titles like Rogue and Cyclops, Bishop promises to deliver a thrilling and standalone saga that encapsulates the heart and history of the character, and all while putting them through the ringer on their most challenging and legacy-defining missions yet. Set to be released June 10th. Now, I think I'm going to get this cover right here, and I'm going to definitely get this cover right here. Matter of fact, bump that noise. I'm gonna get all three of them. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna get all of them. There's no bones about that. But still yet though, it being a limited series, Bishop, by all intents and purposes, is an X-Man. So it being a limited series, I have an understanding of that. because there are other characters that can have an ongoing solo series. Blue Marvel, Monica Rambeau. Just saying. Luke Cage, Misty Knight. Just saying. There's some characters out there that needs that ongoing solo series. I mean, yeah, they gave us Bishop now, and I'm gonna get this book. And you know, because I got Bishop War College issue number 1, and the book was okay. You know, I wouldn't say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but the book is okay. I went ahead and supported that book regardless. It is what it is. So, yes. So all in all, I would definitely say go out and get the second printing, because there's going to be other variant covers. And there's some variant covers that you missed out on, and you know, try your best to order some. But there's going to be new variant covers. I can almost guarantee you that. You know, just in my experience in buying comic books, whenever there's a second printing, there's other variant covers that hasn't been shown yet. Like, yeah, here's this other variant cover. So this is where I'm at with it now. So any way possible, and I told Scratch and Spin today, I told my LCS today, I said, listen, all the variant covers, I want them all. Give me all of them. I know a second printing coming out. Let's go ahead and put it in my pull list, player. I'll get it when it comes out. And that is how you're supposed to do that. That is how you do that. That is how this do that. So you already know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell. Because when you hit that notification bell, there's a little drop down menu that says all. That way you get notified on all of our content, live or recorded. Man, let me tell you something. Y'all really showed up for your boy. Okay? Y'all really showed up for your boy. And for Black History Month and for Melanated March, you showed up for your boy. Whether it showed up for the Dakota Incident and, you know, showed up for Star Trek Deviations, Threads of Destiny, to Stephanie Williams. But for me, y'all showed up for your boy, because I would say only a few weeks ago, you know, every time I reach 100 mark, I say, hey guys, man, shout out to all the new subscribers out there. Reach 800 subscribers. Y'all gave me 81 subscribers. Y'all gave me 81 new subscribers. So I'm at 881 subscribers right now in a matter of weeks, because y'all love the content that I put out, man. I love to have conversations with you guys. Go ahead and hit that comment section. And yes, go ahead and check out Star Trek Deviations. Threads of Destiny. Show that video some love. Please show that video some love, because look, truth be told, when it comes to indie comics, it seems like people don't be banging with those, man. But those are the ones that tell the best goddamn stories. So why y'all ain't checking for that? Why y'all not checking for that? Y'all got to check for that. You got to check for that, man. So yes, go ahead and check out Threads of Destiny, and you're going to definitely enjoy yourself. So I'll see you guys next time. Peace.